I'm willing to bet that if you're watching this, you've either never read the Danganronpa manga or are obsessed with it. I fall into the latter category. So obsessed, in fact, I made a video talking about it, but not in an analytical summary kind of way, but in a way to talk about its many oddities. I'd like to warn you about spoilers for all the Danganronpa manga with an English translation and the games that inspired them before we continue. With that out of the way, it's about time we dove a little deeper. The first Danganronpa manga was announced by Dark Horse Comics on the 15th of September 2015. Later, on the 16th of March 2016, the first volume of Danganronpa the animation was released to the public in English. It concluded on March 22nd, 2017, over a full year later. From the first volume, Dark Horse took in fan art and fan mail in a segment they called Despair Mail. Later, they would expand to also take cosplay photos starting with Volume 2. The first cosplayers featured were Erelza Lowell and Noah Cosplay on Facebook. I'm not 100% sure if I found the right accounts, and I don't even have Facebook, making this harder to check, but I'm pretty sure both of their Facebook accounts have both gone inactive. It would take over a year between the release of the final volume of Danganronpa the animation and the announcement of Danganronpa 2 Ultimate Luck and Hope and Despair on April 12, 2018. But with this announcement came the promise of more Despair Mail coming on the 5th of September 2018. A new Danganronpa saga wouldn't begin until December 12th of the same year for unknown reasons. And more importantly, many of the remaining applicants for the first Danganronpa manga's Despair Mail were featured in this one. With the final volume of Danganronpa 2 Ultimate Luck and Hope and Despair on the 5th of June 2019, came the announcements for Danganronpa Another Episode Ultra Despair Girls, set to release in August 2019, and Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, set to come out in November 2019. Unfortunately, Danganronpa Another Episode Ultra Despair Girls didn't release until the 18th of September 2019. Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair would be delayed until even later on, March 25th, 2020, due to the unfortunate, real-life, biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Danganronpa Another Episode Ultra Despair Girls ended on March 17th, 2021, and Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair ended on the 19th of May, 2021. But after the first volume of each of those series, Despair Mail would be discontinued for the time being. It would be featured online somewhere. The official statement reads as follows: "Don't despair, even if that's the name of this column. Perhaps in the spirit of certain socially distancing global circumstances you may have heard about lately, it's been requested by our Japanese liaison that we move Despair Mail out of the Danganronpa books and put it online instead, where the whole world can see it, and we can enjoy our island life together. Because people have been previously sending in contributions with the expectation of appearing in the books, I'll be getting in contact with the contributors first and asking them if they're okay with their fan art, cosplay, etc. going up on Dark Horse's social media instead. And hopefully by the time you read this, it will have already happened. And either way, thank you all so much once again for the support you've given the Danganronpa manga thus far. Things have been a little delayed by events, but don't worry. We'll plan to keep publishing both Goodbye Despair and Ultra Despair, and maybe other Danganronpa titles in the future. Signed, CGH." Both in English and Japanese, Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair would be discontinued after the third volume left us hanging and stopped with the third death. Despite this, Kuroki Kyu, the person who made the manga, along with Jackie McClure, the English translator, expressed a desire for a fourth volume. It would take a whopping 2 years until the next Danganronpa manga announcement on July 26, 2023 for Danganronpa 2 Chiaki Nanami's Goodbye Despair quest. It was post-release on March 26, 2024, but was unfortunately delayed until the 19th of June 2024 for reasons I'm not currently aware of. With the pandemic over and a new Danganronpa manga on the horizon, it would be the perfect time for Despair Mail to make its return after over 4 long years. But it didn't. Volumes 2 and 3 also came and went, with the manga ending on November 18th, 2025. I actually showed up on release date for Volume 3. Across the 9 volumes of manga featuring Despair Mail, there are a few important people we need to keep in mind. The first volume of Danganronpa the animation only had 3 things in the first Despair Mail: a letter by Mark Zilberts, Junko fan art by Shelby Goldsmith, and a fan art of Byakuya and Genocide Jill by Amy Palmer Cutter. Sarah Haddad was the first person to be featured in Despair Mail twice. First in Volume 3 of Danganronpa the animation with drawings of Gundam, Hajime, Nekomaru, and Soda. They also made it into Volume 4 with drawings of Makoto, Byakuya, and Kyoko. Tori S. and Sophia sent in my favorite cosplay, which is Hajime holding Nagito, who's in a maid dress. On the very next page, a drawing by Rachel S. featuring a cross-dressing yandere Nagito can be seen. In Danganronpa 2 Ultimate Luck and Hope and Despair Volume 3, Kristner, also known as Cruzeros, or at FutureXHope on Twitter and Instagram, sent in drawings of the Ultimate Imposter and Hajime, along with their bookshelf. But on the photo of their bookshelf, you can see a Yokai Watch poster. Yusauwu, or at GreatKitty on Instagram, cosplayed Clown Nagito in the first volume of Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, making him the last person ever featured in a physical printing of Despair Mail. Someone who I feel that most people would leave out is Jackie McClure. She's credited as the translator for all of the Danganronpa manga. Without her, this video probably wouldn't exist. As far as I can tell on the Dark Horse website, she's only ever worked on Danganronpa manga. Additionally, Jackie McClure is also credited under Funimation Entertainment for the credits of Danganronpa the Animation on Blu-ray, but I have no clue if they're the same person or just share a name. Lastly, I'd like to give credit to all the artists for these manga. Danganronpa the Animation by Takashi Tsukimi. Danganronpa 2 Ultimate Luck and Hope and Despair by Kyosuke Suga. Danganronpa Another Episode Ultra Despair Girls by Hajime Toya, who also made a manga based on the first game. Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair by Kuroki Q. Finally, Danganronpa 2 Chiaki Nanami's Goodbye Despair Quest by Suzuragi Karen. I hope I pronounced all of those names right. The official Dark Horse translations of the Danganronpa manga have a few oddities that set them apart from the game and anime. In the anime and original Japanese version of Danganronpa, characters with exceptions like Sonia and Monica are all referred to by their last name, along with some names having U's in them, like Soda. In the Japanese version, it's Souda, but in the official English translation, it's Soda. Kyoko, Toko, and a few others are also affected by this. The manga still uses the game's spelling, but refers to characters by their last name. This manga also keeps other things like the terms Ultimates and Genocide Jill, but not others. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history is instead called the biggest, most awful, most hopeless event in human history. A small, yet noticeable change. Another similar example of this is in the second murder of Danganronpa the Animation, which looks something like this. In the manga, it uses the English translation of Genocide Jill's phrase bloodlust on the right of Chihiro's body, but still keeps the Japanese bloodbath fever on the left. In Volume 2 of Goodbye Despair, Hiyoko calls Monokuma Pedo Bear. In response, Monokuma mentions that it's a good thing she knew her memes as it would stop her from thinking. The manga significantly cuts down on swearing, only using the F-word once in the first volume of Danganronpa the Animation. As for other swears, they're used rather sparingly across the 16 volumes. This is likely due to the manga getting a 14+ age rating on Dark Horse's website and not something higher. I wonder if the manga toned down the swearing to lower the age rating, or was going to tone down the swears anyways, which could coincidentally lower the age rating. Quite a few characters have odd mannerisms of speaking in the manga. Monokuma speaks like a New Yorker, Fuyuhiko talks like a stereotypical Italian mobster, and Sakura speaks like a pirate. I'm guessing his speaking style in the Japanese version inspired this, but it's so odd considering at least the anime picked up on Monokuma and Fuyuhiko's accents, but not Sakura's. In a similar vein, Toko and Genocide Jill have unique font they speak in compared to everyone else. It's a bit thicker and more bold. Toko's font changes to a thin and squiggly font in Volume 4. However, in Ultra Despair Girls, Toko's font goes back to normal. Genocide Jill retains her original font from Danganronpa the Animation. In Toko's fantasies, both Byakuya and Toko speak in a fancy, romantic font. Anyways, Alter Ego speaks in a unique font that's thinner, more fitting of a fancy-typed essay rather than everyone else's more comic font. In Chapter 3, Taka gets two unique fonts. A shaky font for when he talks to Alter Ego for the first time, and a slightly italicized bold font for when he transforms into Kyondo. Some of Junko's personalities also get fonts not seen anywhere else. This one, the metal-looking one with her tongue out, speaks in a bold and sharp font that reminds me of the Angry Birds logo. This one, the cutesy one, is the only character to speak in lowercase. Everyone else's fonts contain exclusively uppercase letters. Finally, the gloomy, mushroom girl version of Junko speaks in a typewriter-like font that's fading a bit. Sonia, though she speaks in a normal font, often messes up sayings, phrases, and metaphors. This might have been something in the original Japanese version of the game that was cut in the English version, but I'm pretty sure she also mixes up her words in the intro of Danganronpa S. If so, I should be putting a screenshot up here. If not, I'll make an edit of me in a dunce cap. I really hope I don't look dumb saying this. Going back to Genocide Jill for like the third time this chapter, what really is her name? Danganronpa the Animation's manga alternates between Genocide Jack and Genocide Jill, despite the fact that Danganronpa the Animation's anime uses exclusively Genocide or Show. The Ultra Despair Girls manga finally makes up its mind and permanently uses Genocide Jill. You know what? Break from the manga. The name is really confusing. The first game and manga both use Jack and Jill. The one time she's referenced in Danganronpa 2, it's under the name Genocide Jack. This carries over all throughout UDG, at least in the game. But Danganronpa 3 uses Genocide Show. So which is it? Jack, Jill, or Show? My answer? All of them are canon, and this discussion is stupid. It all comes from the fact that the game and anime were being dubbed at the same time by two different companies with no correlation, other than the fact that they were both hiring Bryce Papenbrook to play their main character, Makoto Naegi. The anime took a much more direct approach, using super high school level rather than ultimate, putting names with U's where there weren't in the game, referring characters via last name, and keeping the murderous fiend's name as Genocide or Show. The game, on the other hand, tried to westernize things and changed all of those things to ultimates, removing U's, first name basis, and Genocide Jack/Jill respectively. Even if we only look at what's likely the most canon, being the games and then the anime Danganronpa 3, all three names are still used! Here's how I see it. Genocide Jack is the name of the myth, while Genocide Jill is what she chooses to go by. Why they use exclusively Jack after the first game will be a mystery to me. Genocide or Show was just used in Danganronpa 3 because Danganronpa the animation already used it, and thought consistency would be better. There, that was way too confusing. In this video, I will be using exclusively Genocide Jill for the most part. Before I end up this chapter, I'd like to say that the day this video goes up, the 16th of March 2026, will be the 10th anniversary of Danganronpa the Animation Volume 1. I didn't even realize this until I looked at my calendar recently. Anyways, moving on to Chapter 4. In terms of Danganronpa manga and light novels, what's most likely to come next? I think it's best to start with explaining what hasn't been adapted into English yet. Most Danganronpa manga adaptations of games have official English translations, but those aren't the only types of Danganronpa books. There's the light novels, Danganronpa Zero, Danganronpa Kirigiri, Danganronpa Togumi, and Danganronpa the Animation. There's the Gaiden Killer Killer manga, anthologies for every mainline entry and 1-2 reload, a manga based on the demo, pamphlets for every version of Danganronpa the stage, the 4 Coma comics, Makoto Naegi's Secret File, art books, and probably a few more that I missed. Most of these, I believe, will go untranslated. They're either too niche or unimportant to get translated, with the important ones, like most of the light novels and Gaiden Killer Killer, have had plenty of time to get translations, but haven't. I think that Dark Horse is only focused on adaptations for the time being. This leaves us with 3 manga I believe Dark Horse might translate. Danganronpa the manga, Danganronpa 2, the middle of Kazuichi Soda's despair-inducing casualties, and Danganronpa Another Episode of Ultra Despair Girls Genocide Mode. Quick recap of each of these. Danganronpa the manga, based on Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, but from the point of view of each chapter's respective Blackens and victims. The middle of Kazuichi's despair-inducing casualties, which I'll now just call the Soda manga. In the Soda manga, it's just Danganronpa 2 from Kazuichi's perspective until chapter 4 or 5-ish. Danganronpa Another Whatever, which I'll now just call Genocide Mode. In this manga, which I actually haven't read yet, I think it's just the story of Ultra Despair Girls from Toko and Genocide Jill's POV. On to the rankings. In last place, the Soda manga. As much as I think Dark Horse would make it, they've already made 3 Danganronpa 2 manga. It wouldn't really need another one. Second place goes to Genocide Mode. I think this one is possible, but also unlikely at the same time. On one hand, it completes the story, and there's only one UDG manga in English at the moment. On the other hand, Ultra Despair Girls is by far the most universally hated entry in the Danganronpa series, both by haters and by other fans alike. As for the manga I think is most likely to come next, is Danganronpa the manga. Unlike Danganronpa 2, the game it's based on only has one manga in English so far, and unlike Ultra Despair Girls, it's not nearly as controversial. Even more reason I think it's likely is because the Ultra Despair Girls manga actually mentions this one. As I mentioned earlier, they're by the same mangaka, so that's why. Even more reason as to why is because 2 years ago, the manga got a Spanish translation under the name Danganronpa Criminals and Victims, which I bought the first 2 volumes of. I haven't read them yet, but I got them in hopes that maybe one day we'll get an English translation. But with Danganronpa 2x2 on the way, I don't know if it'll get a manga too. I would hope so, or at least an anthology of sorts based on the new scenario. Even Danganronpa 3 and V3, which have no manga adaptations, at least have anthologies. I mean, in truth, does Danganronpa 2x2 need a manga? No. The original scenario already has 4 manga adaptations, though none of them are complete. I think I'd only really care about the new scenario getting a manga if it managed to go all the way through the story. It sucks that no Danganronpa 2 manga has made it all the way through. I've heard the excuse that it only works as a game a couple of times, but not only does it have a musical, property of Twisted Minds Theater, please check them out, but also an official stage play version as well. That also goes until chapter 6 perfectly fine. The mangaka of the Danganronpa manga often reference other forms of Danganronpa media. For example, Hajime Toya, mangaka for the Ultra Despair Girls manga, swaps the clothes of the characters at the end of every volume, just as he did for Danganronpa Criminals and Victims. In Chiaki Nanami's Goodbye Despair quest, Sonya mentions that she wants Genocide Jack to kill her if she has to die. Yes, she uses Jack, not Jill, unlike most of the manga. Soda comments that Genocide Jill, which he corrects Sonya on, probably wouldn't kill her, because she's a girl, which, by my theory, means that Soda met Genocide Jill. Or not, because this is from the non-canon afterwards. In the Goodbye Despair manga, it's showcased for the first time that Kazuichi is a really good at impressions. He does a flawless impression of the ultimate imposter. Later, in Super Danganronpa 2.5, he does a similarly perfect impression of Sonya. As I mentioned in another video, the Man's Fantasy event is seen in Danganronpa the Animation's light novel adaptation. It's also seen in Criminals and Victims. It is strangely absent in Danganronpa the Animation's manga and the Danganronpa the Animation anime. If that upsets you, please skip to the timestamp on screen. I'll give you a couple seconds to skip if you'd like. Okay. In the second volume of Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, Kuroki Q mentions that he was recently able to see Danganronpa the Stage, a stage play adaptation of the first Danganronpa game that changes a few elements here and there, namely around chapters 3 and 4. It specifically mentioned that Sayaka Kanda, the actress for Mukuro and Junko in Danganronpa the Stage, stole the show. The last thing Kuroki Q notes before ending the volume is that he wishes for a stage play adaptation of Danganronpa 2, which would eventually happen, and Sayaka Kanda would reprise her role. The translator comments, Sayaka Kanda is the actress who played Mukuro Ikusaba in Junko Enoshima in Danganronpa the Stage and later in Super Danganronpa 2 the Stage. I had the privilege of seeing her performance in Danganronpa the Stage myself, and I must agree, all of the cast was great, but she was phenomenal. In terms of Danganronpa, Sayaka Kanda would later go on to sing Dead or Alive, the opening song for Danganronpa 3, the Enda Houspeak Academy Future Arc, and would also be the voice actress for Kaede Akamatsu in the Japanese version of Danganronpa V3. Unfortunately, Sayaka Kanda would be found dead on the 18th of December 2021 at the age of 35. I'm not really qualified to talk on this topic, so for more info, please consider checking out the video made by Red Joker in the description. Rest in peace, Sayaka Kanda. Well, with that out of the way, I think I've gone over everything I think was necessary. If I missed anything, feel free to correct me. I hope you guys enjoyed yet another Danganronpa video. I would also like to mention that I tried sending both physical mail and an email to Dark Horse, along with some art. They haven't responded yet, at least as of writing this. Please consider liking, subscribing, and checking out my other videos. Oh, and if you made it this far, have a great rest of your day, guys.